Good morning and happy Labor Day. Welcome to the Morning Scoop for Monday, September 7th. This is your Daily Buckeye Fix. I'm Tom Orr. Week 0 of the college football season wraps up later today with BYU and Navy, but the Big Ten's fall schedule is still up in the air. Buckeye Scoop beat reporter Tony Gerdeman joins me this morning with an update on some new information our Buckeye Scoop insiders learned this weekend. There was a lot of interesting information in there, Tony. I would actually encourage everyone to check out our Ask the Insiders board to read the full report, but a couple things we can touch on here. One, the impact of TV, specifically the Fox deal. They are a big partner for the league, and we have been told they're putting some new pressure on the Big Ten to start playing sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I guess it's time that they finally did that as 51% owner of the Big Ten network and a full partner with the conference, starting to push a little bit to have the Big Ten play in the fall as they watch other network partners like the SEC's and ESPN and the SEC with CBS, and you see other conferences getting ready to play, and those television partners will have all kinds of games playing here pretty soon. And Fox basically left with the Big 12, and we know that's not enough for all of their networks. So I as somebody who wants to see the Big Ten happen this year, it is good to see maybe some, I don't know if it's arm twisting or money flashing. Maybe that's the better term. They're just flashing the wads of cash at the Big Ten saying, hey, wouldn't you like this? And if you would, let's get on the field in the fall, because there's much more of this for the fall than there would be in, say, February.
Well, this was the report that came out this weekend from our ultimate insider, Nevada Buck. He had a lot of interesting information in this report that he released on Saturday. One of the pieces in there was sort of the next steps in this process. And, there's been a lot of conversation about the timetables. Was there going to be a vote on Friday? Was there going to be a vote on Saturday? When I had him on Thursday, it was kind of like, yeah, Friday, maybe Saturday, maybe early next week, which would be this week now. So it didn't happen Friday. It didn't happen Saturday. So now it is looking like, early to middle this week is sort of maybe a realistic timetable. But this is right now sort of in the hands of the Return to Play Committee, the conference's Return to Play Committee. Can you just sort of run through what they're working on right now, what that timetable maybe looks like, and what they're going to be presenting to the league in terms of options?
Yeah, while I doubt they are worried going to be putting too much about the Fox info in there, they're certainly going to be putting all of the medical information, trying to have the up to speed, up to date information there, the best documents and best data that we've seen recently on Twitter over the weekend, the hospitalization data coming out for college students who have come down with COVID. So all of those things so that they can present, I guess, the best argument for a start, be it in October, be it in November, whenever, but just trying to have as much information as they can. And their reasoning, or their I wouldn't say excuse, but the reason it's taking a while is because there is a lot of information. They want to present the best case, because if they were to present maybe an incomplete case or could have done more, and then we don't get October football, or we don't get football until January, and they could have maybe presented a better case that would have swayed things, then that would be unfortunate. So I guess we can give them a little bit of leeway, a little bit of time if it will result in the answer we're all looking for. But yeah, just trying to bring as much of the evidence in just like a yellow envelope, like we've all seen, full of information, full of printouts, something like that, where the best case for playing in terms of just the numbers are down, in terms of the spread, the severity of the virus in college athletes is not great. I would say the corrected heart information, basically things like that, just is and I wonder who presenting this, because we all know stats information can be presented in a number of ways. Will it be presented in a way of let's play as soon as possible, or will it be presented in a way of maybe not right now is not the best time to play? And I think that's another question entirely.
Right. Yeah. That you could take any of the current information and spin it in either direction you wanted to. You can put out the the numbers are getting better in states like Ohio right now. The cases are down, the hospitalizations are down right now. That came out over the weekend, so that's really good. The number of severe cases involving college students has been virtually zero from what I've read. But then you also, on the other side, it's like, well, 44 players from Tennessee weren't able to practice on Friday or Saturday. So it's just which side of the coin do you want to look at, and how much risk are you willing to assume? And, I think how much of a concern is this to you? Are the 44 cases not even positive cases, just guys who weren't able to practice at Tennessee? Is that, like, in and of itself reason not to do it? Or the fact that there have not been a lot of complications and a lot of the heart concerns sound like maybe they are not as severe as initially presented? Is that enough to make it less of a concern, to make it more viable for you to play? So that's stuff there that all of these leaders within the conference are going to have to weigh. Another interesting angle to this whole story that Nevada Buck had over the weekend was the Pac-12. That is obviously something that we had talked about a bunch last week, with Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott saying they'd been talking quite a bit with Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren. Nevada Buck had some really, really interesting information on that. You can read all about that, the impact that relationship could have, at BuckeyeScoop.com. Just go to the Ask the Insiders board to find that. So, Tony, on Sunday, you wrote a piece called "The Big Ten Still Has Time to Fix This If They Want." And while the title is fairly self-explanatory, it was about how the Big Ten still has time to fix this if they want. It was a really interesting look at how teams are kind of in limbo right now, where they're practicing, but they don't know if and when they can play. But just the fact that they're practicing means that they certainly could get back in action soon. Jim Harbaugh over the weekend was at a sort of a return to play protest from the Michigan parents group, very similar to what happened at Ohio State a weekend earlier. And he said 2 weeks, that they could be ready, in 2 weeks to play a game if they got the thumbs up from the league. Others, I think it might have been Jeff Brom, said 3 weeks, maybe more. But I think the bottom line here is, playing this fall, playing in October, these coaches think this is still very much a viable option as long as the league will let them do it.
Yeah, and we know that they wanted 6 weeks initially for 2 weeks of strength and conditioning, and then 4 weeks of practice. That 2 weeks of strength and conditioning has been going on for 2 months. Teams were practicing in July, or in August rather, and that got canceled. So they almost got a week of practice already under their belts. And I think the Buckeyes have been practicing for about a week now in helmets and no pads. But it's just an amazing thing that they're practicing with maybe nothing to practice for, and they have no answers. And the Big Ten is just letting this go on, not giving them direction one way or the other. You're like, yeah, go ahead and practice, see what happens. Who knows? It's like, well, you're the Big Ten. You should know. Tell us what's going to happen. And instead, there's radio silence there, other than from, Larry Scott, Pac-12 commissioner, saying he talks to Kevin Warren every day. And like, well, it's good that somebody does, and there's proof of life there that Kevin Warren is out and about. But to have a conference that is in players, coaches in complete dark on whether there is going to be any type of game anytime soon, and yet they're still allowed to practice. It's just like a complete, like, the parents saying, like, Kevin, the Big Ten leadership is the parent of all of these teams, and they're just nowhere to be seen. And so things are just, going crazy. Teams are practicing, no games coming up, and there's no direction, and they're eating Skittles for dinner because the Big Ten is just completely silent about this. And just now, I assume we'll probably hear something this week about direction, in which case, there's a reason Ryan Day and other teams are practicing, is because they want to be ready as soon as possible. And Scott Frost said 3 weeks. They would be good to go. As you said, Jim Harbaugh, 2 weeks. I'm sure Ryan Day is right in there. Like, it wouldn't take much for them to get going, because they've been wanting this. They've been on campus since June trying to prepare for this. So, yeah, I wouldn't think they would need much of a turnaround. They came back in shape, and I'm sure they're still in shape. And they're probably sick of studying the playbook and would like to maybe – at this point, game preparation would be great. as long as I knew who they were playing.
Yeah, and you have to remember also, I mean, they're certainly working. They're sort of stuck in football purgatory right now, where they are neither in the good place nor the bad place. They're just kind of in between, like, well, maybe, I don't know. We'll see where this goes. But if they get on the field, everyone they play is going to be also a Big Ten team this year, almost certainly at this point. So whoever they play is also sort of stuck in football purgatory right now. You are not going to be playing teams where you're playing someone who is playing their third game of the year and they've been practicing full bore for 2 months and you're way behind. Everyone's just sort of going to be stuck in the same spot. And based on what we've seen on the high school field, that first week or two may look a little, a little rough, not quite up to the normal standards of what you're used to seeing from an Ohio State or from a Big Ten caliber team, but that'll sort of sort itself out throughout the course of the fall. Speaking of high school, yes, while the Big Ten is not playing yet, the high school season is just rolling on all across Ohio. You and I spent last Friday night watching one of the top prospects in the nation for the class of 2023, safety linebacker Alex Sonny Styles from Pickerington Central. My takeaway was that he looked the part, but we really didn't get to actually see much of him on the field through no real fault of his own.
Yeah, I was excited to watch him after seeing him kind of burst out nationally the week before in his first varsity game because he missed his freshman season. So then, he had an interception and a punt block and a touchdown in the first week. And then this past week, we got to see him, went to Newark to watch him play. And the poor Newark offensive line just had no shot against the Pickerington Central defensive line. And Sonny Styles, as the deep safety, had pretty much nothing to do. And I say deep safety probably in quotes because he kept inching towards the line more and more, just trying to be involved in something. And if the ball never moves past the line of scrimmage, it will never get to the safety. And it sure did. And I think there were maybe 3 passes downfield where Sonny Styles even had to maybe run in that direction. Otherwise, it was a pretty boring day for him, pretty boring night. And when we talked to him afterwards, that was the first thing I said. I was like, I came here to watch you, but all I saw was your defensive line. And he's like, yeah, those guys are monsters. They're great. They're one of the best defensive lines in the Midwest. And I'm not going to argue from what I saw because Newark had no time. And I probably go watch him some other game this season, maybe in the playoffs at some point, because I want to see what all the fuss is about. I mean, it's easy to see he's a 6'4", 205, 210-pound safety right now. But as we talked to him afterwards, he expects that he'll be a linebacker in college, but that's also a long way off. 2023.
Yeah, he like I said, he looks the part. He is already taller than his older brother Lorenzo Styles Jr., who is going to be a wide receiver at Notre Dame this time next year. So he's no slouch either. And that Pickerington Central defensive line has multiple future Division I players on it. That is a I did feel bad for the Newark offensive line because it was like, boy, that's probably not a fair thing to ask you to try and block a bunch of future D1 guys. There are probably some colleges that would have trouble trying to block some of the Pickerington Central defenders. What's your takeaway? I mean, you talked about positionally with Sonny Styles. What was your takeaway from talking to him after the game? I mean, I was kind of listening in. I mean, he's a very, very impressive kid. He's the offers are starting to kind of roll in for him. He just got an Ohio State offer about a week and a half ago, and now some of the other programs around the nation I think are starting to jump on that bandwagon as well. You have any other interesting takeaways from your conversation with him?
Yeah, and I guess Notre Dame offered the day after Ohio State, which Ohio State's offer came like an hour after that first game. But in talking to him, he's like, yeah, I'd probably see myself as like a linebacker, a hybrid. And I think back to like the 2022 linebackers that Ohio State has with, Gabe Powers says, I'll probably be, a linebacker, but I'll walk to the line and maybe also drop back and cover the safety or cover the tight end. You've got Deshaun McCullough, who's like 6'4", 6'5", 215. You've got CJ Hicks, who's going to be like a linebacker, safety hybrid. And I posted this on the message board, on the Ask the Insiders message board the other day. It's like, I think the Ohio State 2024 defense is just going to be a bunch of it's going to be like 7 Isaiah Simmonses. But all of these just hybrid guys covering whomever, running around whomever, blitzing here and there. And it's just going to be it's going to be like old Nintendo games where all of the players just look alike. Like
Hmm.
they're all the same size. The corner is no bigger or smaller than the defensive line. That's what it's going to look like. You're just going to have everybody's going to be like 6'4", 215 pounds in the back seven.
Yeah, I mean that's something that they have definitely established that they like a lot positionally is guys who can do a bunch of different stuff and fill in a bunch of different spots. I mean that's something that where that allows you to kind of keep things relatively simple on your end and make things look real complicated from the other team's perspective. And yeah, they are definitely trending towards a defense where they can do that in a whole lot of different spots on the field. So Tony, thank you for joining us this morning. You can find Tony's full article on Sunny Styles at BuckeyeScoop.com. You can also find his article on the Big Ten and the fact that they, yes, could still in fact play a season this fall. That's all at BuckeyeScoop.com, and you can also read all about that huge scoop from Nevada Buck over the weekend on our Ask the Insiders board. You can find that all at BuckeyeScoop.com. If you are not a member, this sure seems like it might be a good week to become a member because there's going to be some interesting information one way or the other, and odds are there's a bunch of bad information floating around out there. This is me pointing towards twitter.com. There is also some good information floating out there. It is at buckeyescoop.com. Be sure to check that out. Join our site and get access to our Ask the Insiders board, where there is a ton of new information pretty much every day at this point. So you can sign up today at buckeyescoop.com. Get all of our insider reports, full access to our Ask the Insiders board, all of the incredible content, and you can also find all of our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud. Just search Buckeye Scoop to find all of those. Leave us a 5-star rating and review, and you can subscribe right there. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great day. We will talk to you tomorrow.